This is Mike Abrams, and I'm excited to share with you the results of a great collaborative experience using virtual world technology. Mike Mulvihill from PossibiliTEAMS and I got together and were brainstorming some fun ways we could work together and develop something in Second Life that would showcase the learning and team-building possibilities in an engaging and immersive way. Using Mike's knowledge of team building and my development experience in Second Life, we set out to create a team-building activity that fulfilled all the objectives of a real-life activity. You'll hear Mike describe the planning that went into the project, the instructions for doing the activity, and the ultimate goal. Then he'll debrief the activity, including lots of comments from our participants. I want to thank Mike for working with me to create this unique and fun experience. I also want to thank the great folks who attended the Learning Innovation Meetup and became our guinea pigs to give this activity a real test. I also want to thank TBD Consulting for letting us present this during the August 19th session of the Learning Innovation Meetup in Second Life. If you'd like to learn more about this activity, contact me directly at twitter.com/MikeAbrams, or you can reach Mike Mulvihill from PossibiliTEAMS at twitter.com/PossibiliTEAMS. If you'd like to learn more about TBD Consulting, visit the website at tbdconsulting.com.
My name is Mike Mulvihill, and I'm the owner of PossibiliTEAMS, a company specializing in corporate team building and training. I was excited to partner with Mike Abrams to put together a team building activity in Second Life. Over the past 15 years, I've led hundreds of groups through team building sessions in real life, and I was really curious to see how experiential team building might work in a virtual environment. As we were getting started, we wanted a team building activity that would translate well from a real life version into the virtual world of Second Life. The activity we decided on was a classic outdoor team building game found on ropes courses around the world, and the activity is called the Whale Watch. The Whale Watch is an 8-foot by 12-foot platform balanced on a fulcrum, so it becomes essentially a very tipsy platform, kind of like a teeter-totter but much wider in order to accommodate up to 16 people. The challenge of the Whale Watch activity is for team members to step on board one person at a time, always trying to keep the platform level and in balance and prevent it from tipping. We had a number of things to consider in translating the Whale Watch activity into the virtual world of Second Life. First of all, we wanted it to be fun and dynamic and immerse people fully in an experience that would engage everybody. Second, we wanted the participants to experience a feeling of interconnectedness. In other words, we wanted every team member to have the sense that their actions or inaction could have a real impact on the success of the team. Third, we wanted the activity to lead to some good follow-up discussion about teamwork and for the group to be able to identify the team skills needed in order to be successful. Fourth, and most importantly, we wanted to recreate the underlying team dynamics that would match the real-life version of the activity. In the real-life version, for example, it's important for the team to spend some time planning before they begin the activity. Also in the real-life version, it's important for them to assign roles so they know whose turn it is to move. It's also important for them to be in constant communication with one another throughout the duration of the activity. We felt that it was important for the team to experience these dynamics in the Second Life version of the activity as well. The rules of the Whale Watch activity are pretty straightforward. First off, the team needs to get everybody on board the platform. That's the ultimate goal, but they do it by putting people on one person at a time. The first person steps on, and it's okay with that first person if the board tips a little bit. They need to get to that balancing point in the middle, so they find the fulcrum. Once that person is on and they've reached the balancing point, then they need to get every other member of the team on one person at a time. So what happens is, as the next person steps on board, they aren't allowed to have the board tip and touch the ground. So the person who is already on board needs to move and adjust as the newcomer slowly steps on and transitions their weight onto the end of the board while the other person is compensating for them. They repeat this process over and over again. Also, in the real version of the activity, for safety considerations, there's no running and jumping on or off the platform. Well, that's not applicable in Second Life, but there is a risk of people getting bumped off by one another's avatars, bumping into each other and falling off the side of the platform. So that was a caution and something that the team needed to be aware of. The way our platform was built in Second Life, there was a nice observation deck. That was the staging area for teams to get on board. Now, they had to get on board from that staging area. They weren't allowed to, for example, have one person step on one side while simultaneously another newcomer was getting on the opposite end of the platform. It was always one person at a time from that staging area. Also, the staging area extended around the side of the platform so that if the team chose, they could have one or two people walk around to that side, and they had a nice vantage point where they could see the fulcrum of the platform and they could tell whether the thing was starting to tip or not. Once everybody was on board the platform, and they had achieved the balancing point, then it was time for a fun variation, and I had every member of the team who was born on an odd-numbered day of the year move to one end of the platform. All the others who were born on even-numbered days moved to the opposite end of the board. So this meant that they had to move and reshuffle themselves, in fact, in a more intense way than the initial challenge of simply getting on the platform. So there was some great discussion. There was some great leadership that took place. People really did sort of have to communicate well in order to figure out whose birthday was when, who was going to which end of the board, and who was going to move in sync with somebody else. During the debriefing discussion that followed the activity, some great points were made, and we were pleased at the amount and the level of discussion that people engaged in. First of all, communication came up again and again. There was consensus among just about everybody that the team would have benefited from more communication. Most of the participants used their keyboards to communicate in chat mode during the activity. And this is a very common mode of communication in Second Life, but many felt that real verbal communication would have worked better. Much of the activity was done in silence with just some short chat messages being sent back and forth. The group felt that the instant feedback of real verbal communication would have been important. There was a little bit of a lag time between them typing and then looking up at the actual real-time stuff going on the platform that they missed out, and they needed to be able to communicate and watch and respond all at once. So the back and forth between texting, keyboarding, and viewing the action got in the way of their success. Also, one woman in the debriefing discussion mentioned feeling a real sense of accountability, and she talked about not wanting to be the one to mess up and cause the team to fail. And this really matches what many people experience in the real life version of the activity, so we were glad to hear that it was happening in the virtual version as well. Several people remarked that the activity was really fun and they felt fully immersed in the experience, and that when the platform began rocking back and forth, people said it felt like they were really moving. Somebody made a comment about being seasick. And this was also something we were pleased to hear, because the feeling of immersion in the activity is exactly what we had hoped for. Finally, the participants in our virtual whale watch had never met before, but had a lot of fun doing the activity, and they engaged in some great discussion about teams and teamwork after the activity ended. And most everybody felt that this type of virtual team building has real value, especially that it would be a great activity for teams who are in the beginning phase of a real-life project where it's not possible for team members to meet face-to-face, and that this is a great way to kick off a virtual work project.